What if Canada ditched the F-35, started building Swedish Gripens on home soil, and became NATO's go-to fighter jet supplier? This isn't just about replacing aging aircraft. It's a move that could reshape the entire Atlantic alliance, infuriate Washington, and rewrite the rules of Western defense. Here's how it all unfolds. Canada faces a crisis in the skies. The Royal Canadian Air Force has been flying CF-18 Hornets since the 1980s, and these aging warbirds are literally falling apart. Ottawa needs replacements, fast. After years of political flip-flopping, Canada finally committed to buying 88 F-35 Lightning II stealth fighters in 2023, with deliveries starting in 2026. But here's the problem. Each F-35 costs over $100 million, and that's before maintenance, training, and upgrades. Canada has unique defense requirements that make this even trickier. They need jets capable of Arctic sovereignty patrols in brutal sub-zero temperatures, NORAD missions defending North American airspace alongside the US, and NATO commitments in Europe. The F-35 is incredibly advanced, but it's also expensive to operate, complex to maintain, and requires extensive infrastructure. Enter the Saab Gripen E, Sweden's lightweight multi-role fighter that costs roughly half the price of an F-35, can operate from highway strips, and is designed for easy maintenance. Some Canadian defense analysts have argued the Gripen actually fits Canada's needs better. But what if Canada went further? What if they didn't just buy Gripens, but built them? The Saab Gripen E represents a different philosophy in fighter design: smart, efficient, and brutally cost-effective. Unlike the F-35's focus on stealth and cutting-edge technology, the Gripen prioritizes operational flexibility and affordability. It's powered by a single General Electric F414 engine, carries advanced AESA radar, and features some of the most sophisticated electronic warfare systems in the world. Here's where it gets interesting. The Gripen costs approximately $85 million per unit compared to the F-35's $100+ million. But the real savings come in operational costs. The Gripen costs around $4,700 per flight hour versus the F-35's staggering $36,000. That's nearly 8 times cheaper to fly. Sweden designed the Gripen for dispersed operations. It can take off from highways, be serviced by conscripts with minimal training, and requires only 6 personnel for turnaround maintenance compared to the F-35's dozens. Countries like Brazil, Czech Republic, Hungary, and Thailand have already chosen Gripens, and they're loving the performance-to-cost ratio. For Canada, with vast territories to patrol and limited defense budgets, this makes perfect sense. The Gripen can handle Arctic patrols, air-to-air combat, ground attack missions, and maritime surveillance, everything Canada actually needs without the astronomical costs. Now imagine Canada doesn't just buy Gripens, they manufacture them. Saab has always been willing to offer technology transfer and local production deals. This is exactly what happened with Brazil, where Embraer now builds Gripen-Es domestically. Canada could negotiate a similar arrangement, establishing production facilities in Quebec or Ontario, leveraging existing aerospace expertise from companies like Bombardier and CAE. The economic impact would be massive. Domestic Gripen production could create 15,000 to 20,000 high-tech jobs across manufacturing, engineering, and support services. Canada would develop sovereign fighter jet production capability for the first time since the CF-105 era was canceled in 1959, a national trauma Canadians still talk about. Technology transfer would give Canadian engineers access to cutting-edge avionics, radar systems, engine technology, and materials science. This knowledge would boost Canada's entire aerospace sector, creating spin-off innovations in civilian aviation and defense technologies. The strategic benefits are enormous too. Canada would no longer depend entirely on American defense suppliers. They'd control their own supply chains, maintenance schedules, and upgrade timelines. In a world of increasing geopolitical tensions and supply chain disruptions, this sovereignty matters more than ever. Canada becomes a genuine aerospace power. Here's where this scenario gets explosive. Canadian-built Gripens flooding the NATO market. Dozens of NATO and partner nations are desperately seeking affordable fourth-generation plus fighters. Poland, Romania, Bulgaria, and several others are flying ancient MiG-29s and early F-16 that need immediate replacement. These countries want Western aircraft but can't afford F-35 price tags. Canada could offer Gripens at competitive prices with North American production quality and NATO compatibility guarantees. The market potential is staggering, easily 300 to 500 aircraft over the next 15 years across Eastern Europe alone. We're talking about a $40 to $60 billion export opportunity. This would transform NATO's capabilities. Smaller member states could afford genuine multi-role fighters instead of making do with upgraded Cold War relics. Interoperability would improve with standardized training, tactics, and maintenance procedures across a Gripen operating coalition. Canada becomes a strategic defense supplier, not just a buyer. NATO's eastern flank gets stronger without breaking national budgets. Countries like Latvia, Lithuania, Estonia, Slovakia, and Croatia, currently relying entirely on allies for air defense, could operate their own Gripen squadrons. The alliance becomes more resilient, less dependent on a handful of major powers, and better distributed across the European theater. The United States would absolutely lose its mind. Washington has spent decades positioning the F-35 as the backbone of Western air power, with allies locked into a massive, interconnected supply chain. Canada, America's closest ally and neighbor, producing competing fighters and selling them to NATO would be seen as a betrayal. U.S. defense contractors would lobby furiously. Lockheed Martin stands to lose billions if NATO countries choose Canadian Gripens over F-35s. Congressional pressure on Canada would be intense, possibly including threats of reduced intelligence sharing or defense cooperation. This would strain the relationship like nothing since Canada refused to join the Iraq War in 2003. European NATO members would have mixed reactions. Countries already operating F-35s might resent the competition, but smaller nations would celebrate having affordable alternatives. France, with its own Rafale exports, might quietly support anything that breaks American defense monopolies. Russia and China would watch with fascination. Cracks in US-led Western defense unity? Perfect. They'd amplify the narrative of NATO fragmentation and declining American influence. Meanwhile, both would study Canadian Gripen technology closely, looking for intelligence opportunities and strategic insights into Western defense shifts. Could Canada really become NATO's alternative fighter supplier? Technically, yes. Politically, it's a minefield. But in a world demanding affordable defense solutions and greater sovereignty, the idea isn't as crazy as it sounds. The question is, does Canada have the courage? What do you think? Should Canada build Gripens or stick with F-35s? Drop your take in the comments below. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more military analysis.